Hi, I'm Bob Swirsel. I'm going to take you on a history ride around Queen Anne in Seattle, Washington. There are a total of 8 stops on the ride, and you better pay attention because I might test your knowledge at the end. Enjoy the ride. Queen Anne Hill is mostly made of glacier sediment, and up until the last 2 centuries, it was almost completely forested. Indigenous peoples from the Duwamish, Shilshole, and Suquamish tribes would camp along the shores and hunt nearby. The area now called Uptown or Lower Queen Anne was originally called Babaqua, or prairies in the indigenous Lushootseed language. Indigenous people have been living in the region for thousands of years. Artifacts 2,500 to 3,000 years old have been found near Magnolia Bluff to the west, and some of the oldest artifacts in the region, about 12,000 years old, have been found around Bear Creek in Redmond. Seattle Center holds remnants of the Century 21 exposition in 1962, originally conceived to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Seattle's other World's Fair, the Alaska-Yukon Pacific Exposition of 1909. Notable buildings constructed for the fair include the Space Needle, which had the world's first cordless phone for its top-floor revolving restaurant, Washington State Coliseum, currently Climate Pledge Arena, which had the Bubbleator, an automated glass elevator now sitting in someone's front yard in Des Moines, Washington, and the U.S. Science Pavilion, now Pacific Science Center, which housed Boeing's Spacearium. 9.6 million people attended the Century 21 Expo, including famous folks like Sammy Davis Jr., Jonas Salk, Walt Disney, Lassie, yes, the dog, Prince Philip, and Elvis Presley. By the way, that's not orange on the Space Needle, it's cosmic gold. At the foot of Queen Anne Hill, Counterbalance Park is named for the counterbalance system designed by engineers in 1901 to get electric trolley cars running from Pioneer Square up and down the steep hill. The system used heavy iron rail cars in an underground tunnel that were attached to the trolleys using cables and pulleys. In 1936, the city of Seattle decided to replace the streetcar rail system with buses and trackless trolleys, but the idea faced criticism. To prove the new vehicle's worth, a race was held on Queen Anne Hill between the old counterbalance trolley and the new trackless trolley. Even after multiple tries, including starting the counterbalance halfway up the hill, the new trackless trolley couldn't be beaten. On August 11, 1940, the last counterbalance trolley ran through here before the city's streetcar rail system was dug up. The concrete slabs and pieces of street rail were reused in retaining walls and stairways throughout the city. The 14th Avenue West houses are a collection of 5 houses built from 1890 to 1910. They are built in the Queen Anne style, from which the hill would get its name, and they were designated as a Seattle landmark in 1978. The houses were originally 1 block away from the shore of Smith's Cove, later filled in with materials from regrades and garbage in 1917. We will need to climb to the top of Queen Anne Hill. This is the toughest part of the route, but our reward is being able to ride the historic Queen Anne Boulevard, built between 1911 and 1916. The Queen Anne High School building dates back to 1909, when his first school year was held. It lasted through the 1980s, when it was shut down and converted into apartments. Notable alumni include Joel Pritchard, politician and co-inventor of pickleball; Lucille Lohman, the first female law clerk for the United States Supreme Court; Hank Ketchum, creator of the comic Dennis the Menace; Leslie Groves, Lieutenant General who oversaw construction of the Pentagon and directed the Manhattan Project; and L. Ron Hubbard, author and founder of the Church of Scientology. The water tower at Observatory Courts isn't particularly exciting, but it's preceded by a pair of water towers that used to draw more attention. In 1901, a 69-foot Gothic-inspired steel and concrete standpipe was built that held 300,000 gallons of water, and it was joined by a second standpipe in 1904. But the main attraction was a steel spiral staircase on the exterior that allowed residents to access wonderful views of the city from the top. This lasted until 1937, when access was cut off after multiple reports of people misusing the viewpoint. The original water towers were demolished in 2007 and replaced with the current 79-foot tall standpipe that holds 2 million gallons. The building here is part of the story of the first pediatric facility in the Pacific Northwest. Anna Ericles moved with her family to Seattle in 1889, and tragedy struck when they lost her 6-year-old son Willis due to inflammatory rheumatism. At the time, the closest children's hospital was all the way in San Francisco. In 1906, she called together 16 fellow women and formed the Children's Orthopedic Hospital Association. At first, they contracted with Seattle General Hospital to rent 7 beds for children. In 1908, the Fresh Air House was opened on this site with 39 beds, and on March 15, 1911, Children's Orthopedic Hospital was dedicated. During his campaign in September 1932, presidential candidate and polio survivor Franklin Delano Roosevelt visited this hospital. By the 1940s, Seattle Children's Hospital was at capacity, and they needed to move to a bigger hospital built in 1953 in Laurelhurst. To move all equipment and patients to the new facility, the hospital launched Operation Orthopedic. On April 11, 1953 at 7:30 a.m., over 1,000 volunteers, including the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Far West Cab Company, Joint Council of Teamsters, Truck Owners Association, and more, helped to guide, carry, and transport everything and everyone along the 8-mile route from Queen Anne to Laurelhurst. By the end of the day, Operation Orthopedic was a success. Today, Seattle Children's Hospital has over 200 beds and employs over 3,000 people. Our next stop is the Willcox Walls. These decorative retaining walls were designed by architect Walter Ross Baums Willcox, who moved to Seattle in 1907. He personally knew great American architects Louis Sullivan and Frank Lloyd Wright, and he also designed the Arboretum Aqueduct Bridge in 1910. The Willcox Walls were constructed from 1913 to 1916 along Queen Anne Boulevard. The Willcox Walls were designated a city landmark in 1976, and they were renovated and repaired in 1989. The iconic viewpoint known as Kerry Park gets its name from Albert Sperry Carey, a man born in Kingston, Ontario, who moved here from Michigan in 1886. He worked in the lumber industry, first with the Oregon Improvement Company at a sawmill, and later having his own company. In 1927, Albert and his wife Catherine donated 1.5 acres of land to the city of Seattle so that people could enjoy this viewpoint. That's all of the stops on this ride, but I have one more thing for you, a pop quiz. You can pause the video if you need more time to think of your answers. Question 1. What was the name for the system used to get trolley cars up and down Queen Anne Hill? The answer is Counterbalance. Question 2. What was the effort to move hospital patients and equipment from Queen Anne to Laurelhurst called? The answer is Operation Orthopedic. Question 3. What is the name of the retaining walls we visited on this ride? The answer is Willcox Walls. Did you get all of those correct? If you did, then awesome job. If you missed any, you should probably rewatch the video. We arrived back at Seattle Center. Thank you for joining me on this history ride. I encourage you to read and learn more about these topics on your own. And if you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.